You know, when we talk about tackling climate change, a lot of the conversation goes straight to solar panels and wind turbines. And that's great. But what do we do about those massive emissions from heavy industries like cement and steel? You can't just slap a solar panel on a blast furnace. Well, that's where this technology called carbon capture, utilization, and storage, or CCUS for short, comes in. It's becoming Europe's big bet on how to clean up its industrial heartland. So let's get into it.
And really, this is the core question we're digging into. Our modern world is literally built on industries that, by their very nature, pump out a ton of CO2. We can't just turn them off overnight. So what if the answer isn't just about reducing emissions, but about actively grabbing them right at the source? It's a massive technological puzzle for sure, but it's one that Europe is increasingly convinced it can solve. All right, before we dive into the global race for leadership and who's pouring money into this, let's just pause and get the basics down. What exactly is CCUS? It sounds complicated, but the big idea behind it is actually pretty straightforward. At its heart, it's really a three-part process. The best way to think of it is like a giant cleanup crew for industrial smokestacks. Instead of letting all that CO2 just float up into the atmosphere, this whole suite of technologies is designed to grab it. And once you've got it, you can either give it a new job or a permanent, safe home. The key thing to remember is it's not one magic invention, it's an entire chain of events. So let's walk through that chain. First up, the capture. This is where you separate the CO2 from all the other gases coming out of an industrial plant, often using special chemical filters. Okay, so you've got it. Now what? Step 2, transport. The captured CO2 gets compressed into a liquid state and moved, usually through pipelines or on specially designed ships. And finally, you have the utilize or store part. The utilize bit means you can actually use the CO2 to create new things, like synthetic fuels or building materials. The store part means injecting it deep underground into stable geological formations, where it stays locked away for good. Now, what's really fascinating here isn't just the dates, it's the speed. Look at the acceleration. I mean, the idea's been around for a while, but the policy support in the EU has just hit warp speed in the last couple of years. Things like the Net Zero Industry Act and the upcoming Clean Industrial Deal. They're total game changers. They've officially labeled CCUS a strategic net zero technology and started setting real, hard targets. This is exactly why we're talking about it right now. Okay, so the politicians are on board. The policies are in place. But that leads us to the million-dollar question, right? Is this technology actually ready to go? Is it still just a cool idea in a lab somewhere, or can we actually build this stuff at scale today? And the answer, for the most part, is a pretty clear yes. The core pieces of this puzzle, the capture, the transport, the storage, they aren't just theoretical anymore. These are commercially available technologies that have been proven to work. We are well past the science experiment phase. We're talking about tech that's ready to be rolled out across the continent. And this gives you a great snapshot of just how ready it is. There's a scale called the Technology Readiness Level, or TRL. TRL 9 is the highest level. It means the tech is fully mature and proven to work in the real world. And as you can see, for CO2 capture, we have hundreds of market-ready solutions. The most developed methods use things like absorption, which is basically using chemical solvents to grab the CO2, and adsorption, which uses solid materials. So this isn't about waiting for some single magic bullet to be invented. It's about choosing the right tool from a very, very full toolbox. So we've got mature technology and we've got the political green light. The next and maybe most important piece of the puzzle is money. Big projects need big investment. So where is the cash coming from to build out this whole new carbon management industry? Let's follow the money. Well, if you look at public funding for research and development over the last decade, one country has really been the heavyweight champion, the United States, accounting for over a third of all the investment. Right behind Japan, you've got the EU member states, which, when you add them all up, come in at a very strong third. This is the historical investment that really built the foundation for the tech we have today. But just look at this. In just the last few years, public funding from the US has absolutely exploded, jumping more than five-fold between 2021 and 2024. That is a massive strategic push, no doubt about it, and it's what's given the US the largest pipeline of proposed projects. But, as we're about to see, momentum can be a very tricky thing to hold on to. And guess what? The private sector story looks pretty similar. The US, the EU, and Japan are again the top three, with companies pouring billions into R&D.
What's really telling, though, is that within the EU, it's the industrial giants, Germany, France, and the Netherlands, that are leading the charge. That shows a really strong commitment from the businesses that will actually have to use this stuff. So even though the US has historically led the way in funding and had more projects in the pipeline, the ground is shifting, and it's shifting fast. This has become a genuine global race, and Europe is now making a very, very serious bid for that #1 spot. And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. This comes straight from a report by the European Commission's own Joint Research Center. The experts who live and breathe this stuff are seeing a clear trend. Europe is starting to pull ahead. So, why? What's happening? Well, this really tells the whole story. Europe's big advantage is its coordinated, steady approach. You've got strong policies, consistent support from governments, and this is a huge one, amazing cross-border collaboration. Think of projects like Northern Lights in the North Sea, where multiple countries are working together. Meanwhile, the US is running into some headwinds. Political uncertainty and trade issues are causing it to lose some of that momentum. And that's created a perfect window of opportunity for Europe to really take charge. Now, Europe might be in the lead, but this race is far from over. The road ahead is long. We're talking about hitting some absolutely massive targets, and there are still some pretty significant challenges to overcome. So let's take a look at the path to 2050. A classic SWOT analysis like this gives us a fantastic balanced view. The strengths are obvious, the tech is ready, and the political support is growing. But the weaknesses are very real too. It's still expensive, and without a strong price on carbon, the business case can be tricky. And the threats? Well, the biggest one is probably a loss of momentum. If government investment dries up, or if public opinion turns against it, that could really slow things down. But Europe isn't just talking a big game, it's setting down some serious markers. The Net Zero Industry Act has a specific mandate: create 50 million tons of annual CO2 storage capacity by 2030. Let me just say that again, 50 million tons. That's a staggering amount of infrastructure to build in a very short time, and it sends a crystal clear signal to the market that Europe is all in. And if you think 50 million tons sounds like a lot, well, take a look at the 2050 projection. To meet its overall climate goals, the EU estimates it will need to capture and store somewhere around 450 million tons of CO2 every single year. That's nearly 500 million tons. It just puts the scale of the challenge into perspective and shows you exactly why hitting that 2030 target is so critical. So, that brings us right back to this final, crucial question. The pieces are all starting to fall into place. The technology is pretty much there. The policy is driving a flood of new investment, and Europe has managed to seize the lead in this global race. The challenge now isn't just about invention anymore. It's about execution on a massive industrial scale. Is Europe ready to turn all this ambition into the pipes, ships, and storage sites that will define the future of carbon management? We'll have to wait and see.